Hello and welcome to Dragons,
Unicorns,
and other creative creatures.
Yeah, wait
Like
until you guys meet our guest.
Yeah, we have some very interesting guests today. We'll get into those in just a minute. But
they have to be, the elephant man in the room needs to be acknowledged.
Yeah, there we go. An elephant man with wings.
Yes, you guys will wait and see.
He makes me like a little bit of an ood, actually. There's an oodish feeling to him. But anyways, before we go there, I never asked you, we haven't talked about it, we're still in the first month.
Yes.
So how was your New Year's Eve? How was your transition time into this insanity we're calling 2018?
It was nice. It was relatively quiet. We had done some traveling earlier in the month, so by New Year's, it was quiet. The boys had something the week before that I was with them for, and then my older son actually he's at that age now. He's with friends overnight, for New Year's. So that's in some ways that's the bigger transition. Is they're doing their own thing.
Yep.
And now I kind of have to start thinking in terms of, well, what am I going to do? And what do I want to do? And stuff like that. And one of the things I did since he wasn't there and he doesn't care for seafood is I made this amazing shrimp scampi.
Ah, there you go.
So, some of the restrictions or choices that I would make to support the kids or what they like, I didn't have to do that one.
Well.
So, yes, made a lovely dinner and bought the dessert. The dessert was very pretty, but I'm not much of a baker, so.
There you go.
Bought something. What about you? How did you ring in 2018?
Well, we flew over to Phoenix for 5 days.
Ooh.
Some of my friends that didn't make the wedding had offered to put together a post-wedding reception in Phoenix.
Wedding part 2.
So we went there on, Jeff and I flew in on Friday. Mm-hmm. On Saturday afternoon, we watched the wedding video for the first time.
Were you happy with it?
Yes.
You didn't answer that quite.
Well, yes, I was happy with it.
It's weird though to see.
Max was our videographer.
Oh, that's right. I didn't even think of that part of it.
And we saw some of the stuff at the end when people were wishing us well.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff finally got to hear his song being sung that I had written for him because he couldn't hear it from where he was standing on the altar.
Right, because the speakers would have blown forward and you guys were kind of behind them. Oh, man. So
at our wedding, it's sprung on him that I wrote this song as his wedding gift to be sung at our wedding, and it's sung and he can't hear it.
That's a little frustrating, but now he's heard it, and now he can hear it over and over and over.
So then he heard it, so that was kind of an interesting experience. Wasn't quite how I envisioned it,
Yep.
But...
There's always something around weddings or big events that isn't how you envision it.
I give the wedding singer a lot of credit. It was fixed with till pretty close to the wedding and stuff like this. But for ease of it, instead of singing the verses I wrote for it, he just re-sang the first verse over again. So, of course, for the person who wrote the song and each verse was very different, I was
All right, you definitely have to get into a studio and
deep breath, yeah.
Yes.
And do that. But New Year's Eve was, and so we did that Saturday, and then New Year's Eve was lovely. We went to some friend of ours, Ray and Maria, who have this wonderful New Year's Eve party every year. I think I've convinced Jeff to fly back there next year to Phoenix just to do it again.
Excellent.
Because they put out a floor, they bring in a band. This is in their back door yard. You're dancing under the stars. It was in the 60s.
Yeah, it was in the 6s here.
Yeah. So dancing.
We had 6s and 0s, but not in the same number.
Big chocolate fountain.
I'm flying out there next year. Have chocolate, we'll travel.
Just tons of food, drinks, the live band. In fact, there's a little thing which was actually, I should have sent it. We could have played it because I taped the clip. It was the band playing, and it was me wearing my New Year's Eve glasses and me and Jeff singing the last bit of some song.
Oh, that sounds great.
On the dance floor. So New Year's Eve was good. It was a great way to start. Went to see a very interesting movie called Call Me By Your Name.
It's getting wonderful reviews and nominations all across the board. Golden Globes, critics circles, and it's very likely to see some very good good nominations come the Oscars.
Incredibly well done movie. Of course, it takes place in the early 80s in North Italy, so everybody was smoking because in the early 80s in Northern Italy, everybody was smoking.
Are they still smoking in Northern? I think
They
in
may
Europe
still be.
in Europe they still smoke more than we do, but
Well, now they do.
yeah.
But it was a really good, it was a really well done movie. Very much enjoyed it. And then went hiking in Sedona on my last full day there. I watched some beautiful sunsets and again some 70-degree weather, and went to a wonderful.
Sorry.
I was going to say
All of our temperatures added for a week when it hit 70.
all I can say is if those lips become any more pursed, you're going to be able to carry your compact in them.
It was so cold. It was so cold. We were at that, why do I live in a place where the air hurts my face? I mean, the moisture in your nose would freeze when you breathe. Then, of course, they started showing pictures of the mudslides out in California, and I'm like, and that's why I live in a place where the air hurts my face, so that the earth doesn't drop out from under me instead.
Yes,
But
so the mudslides actually freeze.
Yeah, well, yeah,
then
they
they
don't
become
have
avalanches. So anyways, but
70-degree weather in January or December. That's just weird and wrong and odd. I can't imagine. Actually, I'd done it once. I take that back. But it's got to be odd to be not on East Coast time when the year changes, because you see New York change and you're still like 2 hours away from.
I was out dancing and partying and eating off the chocolate fountain.
Right.
I didn't pay attention to when New York
Did
changed.
you actually dip anything into the chocolate fountain, or did you just let it pour?
Does my tongue count?
That's what I was picturing.
No.
That's what all of our viewers were picturing. Stop picturing that.
No. I dipped pineapple,
that's good.
and I dipped banana, and I dipped Jeff, and I dipped
Perfect.
all sorts of stuff.
All sorts of perfect.
So now let's.
There is no wrong in putting things into the chocolate fountain.
No, and I see some things on our table that would probably do very well in the chocolate
Well, they
fountain.
probably like it.
Yeah.
I mean, they'd enjoy the chocolate. I don't know that they want to be covered in chocolate.
I
They'd
don't
make
know.
interesting. Now I'm trying to picture Bruce's chocolate done. Bruce's are done as chocolate molds.
Speaking
All right,
of Bruce,
you introduce our guest.
Bruce Wood grew up in a small town, in the small town of Groveland, Massachusetts, a town I have been to. I've been to that town hall, actually. Then ventured to Arizona to attend Arizona Western College.
This
So
works
he's
beautifully.
familiar with Phoenix.
Wow, did we just segue this perfectly?
His career path has included both creating and teaching art. All I can hear is the song Putting It Together.
Bit by
inch
bit?
by inch. Yeah.
Part by part.
Of his work, he says, I enjoy the convergence of similar and unrelated image into a juxtaposed end product. I try to evoke multiple thoughts and emotions in the viewer as the nuances in the work are discovered. I believe the creative process happens when whatever you are working on begins directing you towards your next step, and when the evolution of the process is guided by the artwork itself. It's so interesting. I'm thinking about a Twilight Zone episode I saw where the toys that the toy maker was making came alive and started talking to
This
him.
happens to Bruce. We may all be. Keep going.
Maybe we should do a Twilight Zone 2018 featuring Bruce in his art shop. In January of 2010, Bruce moved into the studio space at Western Avenue Studios in Lowell. I wonder where we've heard that one before.
It's amazing.
Here he is expanding his interest in everything from digital art to sculpture. Bruce, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me.
You are very welcome. You and your part of your menagerie.
I know. I was definitely thinking we definitely have some other creative creatures on today. So,
Polly want a lug wrench?
and Bruce also has a book that's out. I take it that.
You have to.
Oh, I love that. I don't know if they can get in on it on the back. If not, they'll have to take a picture and put it up. He is looking like one of the Dutch masters, which is just a book of just kind of a book of the different creatures he has. Some of which we have here, but some of which are actually pretty large because I see him working on one that's bigger than he is. That kind of looks like Amelia Earhart met an angel.
You could get as lost in that book as you could in his studio, and in as you said, the menagerie we have here. As I said, the elephant in the room over my shoulder here.
So Now you're an art teacher. Are you still teaching art?
I am not teaching art anymore. I have a degree in art, teaching in art. And I did teach art for a few years, but that was back when art teachers were being pushed out because of budget controls. So I had to go into other things to make a living.
Ah, yes. As our country made that move towards.
I'm going to pay for that in all the wrong ways.
Yeah. Anyways, so talk to us about. So how long have you been creating these creative creatures?
This type of art I've been doing for about 4 years now.
Okay.
I was originally trained as a potter when I went to Northern Arizona University.
Okay.
And I did a lot of pottery, but when I moved back to Massachusetts, I couldn't bring all my equipment with me. So I donated it to the high school out there and came back and started doing other things. And as I said, I did teach for a little while, and then I had to go out and find a job that would pay because the teaching jobs are all drying up. So I worked for a long time in many different jobs in many different industries. But then eventually I found my space at Western Avenue Studios, and because of the influences that are there and the other artists, my art just took a whole different turn and went this way.
So
It's quite a way.
I was going to say, so we've had several of the different artists from Western Avenue Studios. So what you're telling me is it's a place that's got a plethora of nutcases for you to draw from.
Absolutely.
You could write a soap opera.
Yeah. And it really helps you nurture your art and improve your art just by being around like-minded people and sharing ideas and people just kind of throwing things on the table and you picking them up and seeing what, which way you can go in that direction.
Okay. So is most of the art you do these days more of the, I'm going to call it three-dimensional art, the
Yes.
sculptures of some kind? Well, how would you classify these? Sculptures?
Sculptures, yeah. I categorize them as found object sculpture because it's all made from recycled or discarded items that are now turned into new sculptures.
Okay.
Some of them aren't fair, you have life size, but look at this little guy.
Yes.
He's a mouse. Well, he was a mouse. Now he's a frog.
Is he a frog? I thought it was a ladybug.
So
Okay,
whatever you would like.
His eyes are frog-like to me, and the color is frog-like, I guess. But you're right. I didn't even notice you could do that. He's a finger puppet. Yeah, you're right. The legs aren't particularly frog-like.
Yeah, there's something ladybug about. And now I asked you off air. I'm going to ask you on air. So do you ever name any of these?
Not usually. I like to have the people that view them or the customers, they can name them and therefore they have a closer connection to them. Most of my energy goes into creating them.
Have you ever counted how many parts some of these have? I mean, that one clearly doesn't have a lot, but this one, Polly here, is made from so many different things.
I find that the more intricate I can make the item, the more intriguing it is to me, and the more fun it is to make. And I like when people start discovering little nuances that are in the piece that if they were not there, you probably wouldn't notice that they weren't there, but you would notice that maybe it's not complete.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much going on with every angle. And you started with, we've said it was a body of a dustbuster.
It's a dustbuster, yes.
And you said the head is an upside down helicopter.
Toy helicopter, yes.
Toy helicopter.
Okay.
The crown and the top are spoons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's bottle caps for the eyes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yep.
In here.
The wings on it are the side wings off of Thor's helmet.
Oh my.
That's great.
And the feet are from a mechanical Godzilla.
Oh.
And he has a
Spatula.
Spatula for a tail, yes.
That is just ingenious.
And it's hard to zoom in, but if you guys will see the pictures later, potentially there's all this sort of battery and wiring stuff in there for his brain.
There's vacuum tubes and wiring. People ask me if he does something, and I will say no.
Not when you're looking, anyway.
Yeah. But it's just another nuance to put in there that makes you think that, oh, maybe there's more to it than I realized.
And you're right. He would be missing something if that were open and there was nothing in there. He needs that. It's right.
Yeah. Very fascinating.
I love it. I also love, I mean, just the gradient of color you're even able to get to of the greens. You know, the difference to the wings, to the body, the beak.
Well, as much as it is and it isn't lifelike, the coloration gives it more of a parrot feel.
Yes.
Because parrots wouldn't be all one shade of green.
No.
And in fact, there's some more yellowish here, which is what you'd expect to see on this kind.
Great.
And then you make the stand as well. And
Correct.
this is all recycled stuff as well, I'm assuming.
Yeah, this
pretty much.
old pipe in the stand was from a floor lamp. And those are great to use because they're very heavy to hold the lamp
Right.
up
so
straight.
Good sturdy.
So I'll take them
material.
apart and paint them and put them back together for a lot of my stands.
And there's a lot of action figures finding second life here. I recognize these. These are the Fisher Price series, isn't it? There's the feet on this guy where he reminds me of something that my kids had.
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what the name of that particular.
You killed it.
That
Action
backpack
hero.
is, but yeah, I mean he's got a lot going on here.
And one of the things that I've done is with the feet. I mean, it's important that these things stand up from my
Yes.
standpoint. So with the big feet, it makes it easy for them to stand up and
Yes.
balance.
It also, you know, they're art, and yes, but I can do things with him. I can, you know, enjoy him. I can change him, and he has kind of that alien, the movie Alien kind of thing going here. Even though I know you said that was it was originally a dragon's tail.
Yeah, that was a dinosaur.
Dinosaur tail.
Dinosaur
Dinosaur
tail.
tail.
Yeah.
And there's 1,000 things going on back here.
That's one of the things I said, all those little nuances that are in there. And each one is a different piece from something else.
And very kind of steampunkish.
Definitely, especially with the coloring.
And the little thing here.
Oh my gosh.
We cannot show you the detail. Definitely, I would stop by Western Arts.
Western Avenue, yep.
Yeah, wherever. I'm just fascinated by this. And of course, I don't know if...
Got to tip him back, we've discovered.
Yes, we have to tip him back. Oh, there we go.
He's tipsy.
He's been smelling too many of the fumes coming out of that thing that's on his
Oh,
backpack.
thank you. You're good, better at it than we are, yes.
There you go.
There you go.
Stand up.
Stand
Stay.
up. But of course, I'm sitting here going, I want to create a story for this world, for these characters. And you have several authors at Western Ave, and I'm sure that some of them have got to look and go, I could create a whole plot line, almost like a Guardians of the Galaxy type of, these are, and create a race for each one of these.
I mean,
and
who are
do
the good
stuff.
guys versus the bad guys, and or you could just do sort of mosh pit Toy Story, because these are
Toy
former
Story gone bad.
Toy Story gone bad. I'm going to turn this one for. He's also has this sort of incredible energy pack going on him. And it amazes me that these aren't going to move. You do imagine them suddenly coming to life. And I think it's in part the gear work and stuff, all the piping and all of, and that. It really looks like at any moment he could start chugging away. And
Yeah. And again, I know it has some of the same stuff that made me look at that and go steampunk. That makes me think Jules Verne for some reason. There's a very Jules Verne. So where do these ideas come from? And of course, I want to name them all, and I know we're not supposed to unless we're taking them home. So, but I sit here and go, what would I call? What would the race be? What would I call them? So where do these ideas come from?
Most of them come from my imagination, but what leads me there is many times is the object itself. If I find something, I look for shape and texture and design when I'm scrounging around different places to try to find inventory for my work. And there'll be sometimes, for example, one time I was cleaning my studio and I picked up a dust buster in one hand and a vacuum cleaner in the other hand, and I just went to move them, and as I picked them up, It was a shark. It looked like a shark. So immediately I said, okay, well, we'll put that over there so I can finish working on my shark. And then as I continued to work on him, that parrot over there, I was considering making a bird, and I've been trying to think for a time, how would I do that? And I could never figure out a good way to make the head. And I had that helicopter hanging in my studio for about 3 years.
Oh my goodness.
And then for some reason I looked at it, and as I started twisting it around, it told me, turn it upside down and it'll fit right on that as the head. So I get feedback from the parts themselves, and then it's just kind of reanalyze them, and then the engineering of how to make things connect that are not supposed to connect is what I really like doing to kind of bring everything all together.
Yeah, really, because when those two things started, or 3 or 4 or 12 things started life, they did not know they were going to end up together. That is for sure.
Yes, so he does have the parts of his toys talking to him. So I told you, Twilight Zone meets the 21st century.
But it's, we've talked about characters that talk to us. We try to do one thing with them, and they tell us, nope, not going there, not doing that. And apparently the pieces do the same thing. Oh, we have some of your art too in visuals.
Okay, yeah, we'll get to that in a second.
Okay, we'll get that in a second.
Yeah, I want to finish doing what's on the table, because now let's move to the fish. I look at that, and all I can think of is a fish.
Definitely fish.
It's definitely like
Well, I see fish too.
there's something
Fish
that
ship.
belongs in the ocean.
Correct.
Fish ship, fish submarine.
Now the reason I brought this fish is because it's unfinished.
Yes.
I'm
This
ready.
guy's in process.
I'm ready to paint it now. So before I paint it, you can pick apart all the different pieces of it. These are wings off a fighter jet. These 2 domes were ceiling lights that I just put together.
Oh my gosh. What about the eyes?
The eyes, that was a plastic ball that I cut in half. And these rings, I'm not sure exactly what they were. I just found them in a box someplace. So I cut the ball in half and put it inside the ring and glued it on here. Oh, wow. So now it's, it comes with some nice eyes. And then the pompadour hair here is from hair clips.
Yeah.
This back tail piece, my neighbor gave me this. He was on a walk and he found it in the street, and it's the thing that holds the electrical wires together on telephone poles.
Okay.
Oh my God, it's so swirly.
Yes.
It's just such
and there are some times that in my studio I'll have things, sometimes it's immediate and I know exactly what to make out of it. This I've had in my studio for about 5 years, and I didn't know what to do with it until this fish came along. And again, there's all these little parts on it that once it's painted, I can highlight it. You can probably see here there's some gills.
Yeah.
And as I spoke earlier, some of the small things you may not notice, but you would notice if they weren't there.
Right, not having gills would be wrong for a fish.
This is plastic tubing that I slice in half and then stick on the end of the plastic, so now it gives you fish lips.
Yeah.
And it just gives that little extra on the edge that says fish lips.
Fish lips. This is otherwise it would just look like a dome or a I do like the gills now that I noticed them, but of course I was like, oh yes, gills, of course.
And a lot of times what I will do is after I paint it, I'll paint it one color, and then I'll go over it, I'll completely paint it black and wipe all the black paint off of it. So all the paint sticks in all the little cracks and crevices and screws and gives it that much more detail to pop it off the piece.
And it kind of falls where it naturally needs to go then
Right.
too.
Yeah, well, we were talking actually before the show started, because we were both like, oh, I really like the copper. I really like the copper. And I'm going, yeah, definitely doing like a row of changing colors on the front.
Well, yeah, he's got quite the majestic, as you called it, the pompadour. It's
The pompadour, yeah. Doing that.
which is a much better word than mohawk. Really.
Pompadour.
Pompadour, I like it.
Yes.
But he'll be, this is a goldfish, so he'll be yellow and gold.
Okay.
He's awesome. Will he continue to spin?
Yes.
Oh, good.
A lot of times on the stands that I make, you can spin them around.
That's great. I like that because then you don't, no matter where you put it, if you don't put it in a place where somebody could physically walk around it, then you're not going to be worried about not showing off the right side.
Right.
They can see every side.
Well, one of the things that you said a couple of times, which is very interesting, and it's just that sign of the active artistic mind versus the passive artistic mind. The active artistic mind is never afraid. In fact, has almost got a commandment that it has to pick stuff up and look at it from a different angle. Like, you know, because we all know that things, just how the light hits, or just different time, you know, and
I love how long, I never would have guessed that some of these pieces, some of the pieces of the pieces have been with you for so long that you're willing to just kind of let them be there. But now that I stop and think about it, I have stories that I have scenes, or I have characters, or I have moments that have been with me for a while, and I'm not quite sure what to do with them yet. And someday I'll look at them again,
sometime
and maybe
it'll pop to the surface.
I'll see it right. And Neil Gaiman said that about American Gods. He had this great idea, and he didn't know what to do with it. And then another idea came, and when he put the two ideas together, the book showed up. I mean, it took a lot longer than that to write it, unfortunately, but it was an interesting thing to hear, and I love that. I mean, I would have thought something as swirly as what's on that fish's tail would have been like instantaneous, and you've said it's just hung around for the rest of the body to appear.
Yep. Well, I love that, and the fact that so much of it is stuff you're getting recycled, you're picking stuff up, you're giving things new life.
Yes.
That's also very interesting to me as well. And I love that there's a little elephant kind of insignia on the shoulder.
One of the small touches, yes.
With this, on the thing.
Up on the shoulder here.
Up on the shoulder, right there. There are two
here.
little
Oh my gosh! I'm sitting here. I couldn't be any closer to it. I didn't notice that. See, that's the thing. And I've been to your studio and stuff, and I do every time I walk around, or I'll pass something on the way out the door, and I'll be like, I didn't notice that when I came in. Oh yeah, there's little elephants on his. Well, he's a well-represented. Well, he must be a general of some sort, I guess. I like that. I wouldn't have noticed that. It's your angle, because your angle's different from mine, and now you're saying different things.
I just saw the light on it. So, and then the last thing that's actually on the table we haven't looked at is Horatio.
Is that what we're calling him?
Sure.
He looks like Horatio to me.
All right. Can you reach him? Oh, thank you, Bruce.
There's Horatio and Madam.
There you go. Because of the shape of it, he's got a
Big
belly.
He's got a belly, and he's got this.
He's another mouse,
Yes.
computer mouse.
There we go. So we've got Horatio and Lady. There
That's
we
a
go.
puppet show right there.
It is.
There we go.
Coming soon to a YouTube channel near you and Cartoon Network.
There you go.
I love him. I love his arms. They're great. And you're right. These sorts of legs are just perfect for. Look at the colors underneath him, even.
Oh my.
The bottom underside of his legs of his shoes are two different.
Two different things. Yeah.
He's quite.
Yes.
I've always thought as a writer I should have one of one of these mouse creations, because I'm on my computer so much.
There we go. He's quite a jolly fellow.
He is quite a jolly fellow.
He's quite a jolly fellow. Pip 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 pip. Yes.
He could hold a pen even. Well, maybe not pen. Something. I don't know
Yeah.
if he's quite wide enough there to. I can give him something to
Hold it. I don't
Give him
know.
a coffee mug.
there you go.
That'll definitely be a writer's friend.
Okay, so we have a few pictures.
I did. Bruce's website's amazing, and you'll see where to go underneath his name, because we'll take all that good stuff. So this is some of his other work that actually.
So describe to us what's on the screen right now. What exactly now is this? The piece in total, or are those two pieces, and that's just how you're displaying them?
This is a piece in total. This was done for an art show that was done at Western Avenue Studios in the Loading Dock Gallery. They had a show back a few months ago that was called Unmentionables. And
That's great. I remember seeing the signs for that.
I put this together, made out of the scrap parts that I have, and of course I have mannequins.
Yeah.
So
Of course you do.
with the mannequins, this piece, this bikini piece, was made specifically for this mannequin, and it was kind of fun doing it. It's something that I made specific for this show, so I like doing that because that pushes me in another direction to kind of really expand what I do and gain new knowledge on how to put things together.
It's an artistic call for submission rather than,
So I went to, I had some faux leather, and I went to one of the other artists at Western Avenue Studios, and I had designed out a bikini pattern, and asked them if they could, sew that together for me. And They did, and that was the basis for doing this because they had to fit this particular mannequin.
Oh, right. Otherwise, yeah, it's not going to work.
And it was interesting going back to that artist after I had finished and showing him the finished product.
This is what it became, just
Yeah.
like everything else you design, right?
Yeah, and she didn't quite expect this.
I like the pause. She didn't quite expect this.
This. Well, and it looks like you've got something, and I'm trying to just tell by looking at the pictures, but it almost looks like you got like 3 little hot pepper things.
That is 3 hot peppers, yep.
3 hot peppers. So this is a lady with some sizzle.
Sizzle,
Yeah,
yeah.
she definitely got sizzle.
And then it almost looks like she's got a little miniature dream catcher or something. There's a leaf and a.
Oh, down here.
Yeah,
at
that's the side clip on that side of the underwear. On the other side, you can see there's the part of a bolo tie and a USB cord that's holding that together.
so you can see the little plug kind of hanging down.
On the front, you can see there's 2 pawns from a chess set. There's an upside down monkey on the front. There's some watch parts. The parts of the brassiere are made from soup spoons.
That's amazing.
You know, I think we've had some guests on our show that would wear that to a Comic-Con
Probably.
or something.
Yes.
You would have to be a very small person.
Oh, it's a very small mannequin.
It's like a 00 mannequin.
Oh, okay. There
Which
we
is-
go.
But this won Best in Show at that particular
Yay!
show.
That's awesome. It's such a clever use of the theme, and what I like about it, and this is something you hear on things like Project Runway and stuff. It's true to your voice. You know, it was their call for submission and their theme, but it's very true to your artistic sensibilities and creativity, and so it's very clearly your viewpoint, which I love.
Now, do we have another picture? Or
We have
not?
another picture of something else. Yes, I do. Oh, look! It's
Oh.
another fishy.
It's a completed fishy.
Oh my God! It's like a piranha fishy.
This piece was another piece that I did for a show that I was invited to.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know how I chose
and
that then.
This show was called Vessels. And when I was first told about it, you know, they said they were putting this show together called Vessels, and I'm thinking, well, what could I make for a vessel? I mean, a vessel is like a coffee cup or a vase. And then as I started thinking more about it, it's like, well, you could expand into, you know, they'd say the brain is a vessel because it holds ideas.
That's true, right?
You have air vessels, you have sea vessels. So I made this, and this was a deep sea vessel.
Oh, it's like an anglerfish.
And it was designed to navigate the deep sea, but it looks like one of those great deep sea monsters so that it wouldn't get eaten by the other monsters that were down there. And it obviously worked because it's still here.
Well, there you go. I love the fin is sail-like, the way it's done there at the top. You know, its dorsal fin definitely also looks like it could be a sail on a vessel, on
Correct.
a ship.
Yeah. Well, I looked at it and all I could think of is
Finding Nemo.
we all live in a yellow submarine. Doesn't that look like something that could have been swimming in that
Oh,
cartoon?
Yes.
totally could have swum in that cartoon.
Yep.
I'm like,
You should send that to the people at Jeep and let them see what happened to their.
Yeah, because that is made out of 2 Jeep hubcaps.
On both sides? Oh my gosh, I didn't realize the whole thing. I saw obviously the one center part, but
that you can make out the word Jeep on it.
I love the coloring. I love that mottled, coppery.
And this is a good example of when I tell you that I painted over it. After it was painted copper,
yes.
I paint over it and wipe it off. So in all the cracks and crevices and then in the screws, you can see that they're all popping out of there because it has, you know, kind of coloration around it with the black paint. And then I'll go back in with some other golds and bronze paints and sometimes just put them on my hand and wipe them over it to just kind of give different areas for that to pop out of.
It also creates this sort of like pre-patinaed, you know, you had said this has survived, you know, this one obviously hasn't been eaten. And it does, it kind of looks like it's been through some stuff. This guy has seen some stuff. I love the goggles too.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
You know, welding goggles.
Cool dude.
He is.
He's a cool dude. And hanging out.
But those teeth, no one's going to mess with
And
them.
those are just 2 hair combs.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's amazing how many things, you know, I think I don't recognize as much as I do.
Yeah.
Probably more actually, until you say it. and stuff. These things need like ingredient lists, like food does.
I have some.
20%,
Some of my pieces are
Hubcap
in a gallery in Newburyport, and that's one of the things that I've done with that when I put them in a gallery, is I'll list all the components.
Oh, that is a good
and
idea.
people
When they're not there with you. Oh, that's funny. I chose him from the.
Well, so we can move on from him because we
Yeah,
already have
sorry.
him in
Yes,
line.
one of the photos I chose, viewers, was actually was Polly here.
There we go.
Oh God, you people all have to go to his website, and of course, I'm going to mention West Avenue Studios again, but I just. Has there been anything that's particularly confounded you? Is there one piece you're still waiting to, vacuum somewhere, one?
It's still in gestation.
There's several pieces that I have an idea and I will start it, and then I either lose interest or something else comes along.
Pick me.
And that happens a lot. In fact, what I have to do at times is I have to protect myself from stealing parts from one piece to put in another piece. Because I'll have ideas. I'll say, okay, I'm going to put this there, and I'm going to put this here. And then I'll go to pick up something, and again, the shark scenario comes up. It's like, oh, and I start working on that, and I see something over here, and I'll go, oh, I could use that on the shark. So what I do is if I'm...
other piece of art's like, hey, I needed that.
Well, what I'll do is I'll take a bag, and I'll put them in the bag and put them with this piece. So I don't see them anymore.
Ah,
And then if I don't see them out of sight, then I can go to my other inventory and start pouring through stuff to see what will fit.
See about something else that you.
You know, and it always works out. If I leave that stuff alone and go work on something else, the other thing was probably what I needed to work on anyways.
yep, absolutely. I do the same thing with creative projects. Is I'll have multiple ones going, and I just have to bounce around. When before the show started, I was talking about something that I was making as a gift for somebody.
Yep.
One of the different ways I play out my creativity is through knitting and crocheting along with other stuff. And I'll always have 3 to 5 projects going. And I remember the other day driving Jeff crazy because I had to go to the store for one particular project because we were going to watch a movie that night. And if I'm going to watch a movie, I like to get my hands busy.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you've got... No, those are not the ones I want to work on.
Right.
I need that color for that because that's the vision that's in my head, and we need to go with that one now.
Yes, dear.
I can so relate. That's exactly how I work. Yep. I've got several things going on at once and trying to pull them together. And what's rewarding with that is sometimes I feel like I'm not making any progress because I've got so many things going on at once. But then all of a sudden it's bang, 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 bang. I've got 5 things done.
Finished. Wow. No, I've seen the studio. There's things everywhere. There's the things that are available, that are finished and ready, and then there's the workspace. What does home look like?
All my inventory is relegated to the shed out back, and I have just as much stuff in the shed as I do in my studio. And sometimes I try to always have an inventory in my head of what I have.
But
and,
still.
Well, yeah, sometimes it gets piled on top by other things.
Right.
And there's times that I know I have something.
No,
It's in there somewhere.
And is it,
oh, I know that one.
is it in the shed? Is it at the studio? And there's pieces I know I've picked up off the side of the road that were geared for a specific project. But I got sidetracked, and I'm trying to go back and find that, and I'll spend hours looking for it, and it just doesn't show up.
Oh.
So what I've learned is I'll look for it for a little bit and then move to something else. And if it was supposed to come up, I'll find it. I'll find it somewhere. If it doesn't come up, well,
It's
then,
not its time.
yeah, it's not the
For another
time.
piece.
Yep.
I do that all the time. It's like, okay, I've lost something. So all I'm going to do is, if I've lost something, it's time to just keep working around, doing other things. It might be a good time to clean a little bit, do a little this. Maybe I'll start cooking something, run around. There it is. It showed up what I needed to do. There we go. Boom. Yeah. Have you ever, and would you consider doing commissioned pieces?
I have done some commissioned pieces. I had a gentleman come in to the studio, and he was going to a Halloween party. And he wore glasses, but he says, all the masks, they either cover up my glasses or I have to put them on the outside, and that's just dumb.
Yeah.
He says, can you make a mask that I can wear and still wear my glasses? And I said, well, let me give it a shot. So I bought some just plain masks at Michael's and cut them in half so they just kind of snuck under the nose.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And
Then you could keep the glasses on.
And then made these crazy kind of steampunk masks that you could wear and still keep your glasses on.
Oh, that must have been cool and creepy.
And I made about 6 of them because I can't make just one of anything. So
Hence the mice, the Henrietta and such over there.
Yep. So I made about 6 of them, and through that progression, I can change things and I can kind of develop that idea. And when he came back, he loved them, absolutely loved them, and he bought 2 of them to go to the party with.
So now I was thinking of something completely different.
Of course you were. Welcome to our show. Of course he was.
Is, like coming and, we have, especially if you have like a loved one that's passed. So like, my father has passed, and I mean, now it's 11 years, but there were just odds and ends of his that I really have no use for, but they kind of are sentimental. They remind me something. And so it's like, I want to put them all in a box, and then I want to bring in the box and say, create a single something out of these that I would then have, and I would look at it and say,
There's Dad's watch.
There's his watch, and that's a favorite, but that's what I was thinking is
That's an
it would be
interesting.
a great memorial type, like to create a sculpture, and then people go, oh my God, what is that? And it's like, oh, let me tell you about that. Well, that was my father's
Here's my
watch,
dad's
and
odds
this
and
is-
ends, and-
This is, Papa's pillbox. Like my father had a very distinctive, and probably it wasn't, probably there were a dime a dozen at some point in the 60s or
you.
70s. But for me, it had like an electric blue, and then it had one of those like compass things that don't have the points, but it's got like all the compass like star out things, and it was a little pillbox. And I wrote a poem about it called Papa's Pillbox years and years ago. But like it would be a beautiful one eye for something or whatever. So that's what I was thinking of when I said commission was to create a memorial piece.
Yeah, people bringing, so that would actually be people bringing you the scattered and then putting it with others.
And say, here, I want my junk to talk to you. Make it pretty.
Talk to you.
Well, that would be the challenge because my ideas may not coincide with your
Right.
ideas, and I would hate to make something from someone's relative that has passed on, and people think, well, that doesn't match his personality at all.
Dad didn't like parrots. Or
Well, I think you have to be, there's a difference between here telling my junk to talk to you and telling you to talk to my junk. So, it's got to kind of, it would be trusting the process. It would be
Yes,
going
you
in
have
and
to.
going, okay, you create some really great, crazy stuff.
I
I
totally
have
trust
nothing
what-
in mind.
Yep.
I totally trust you. I want a Bruce original that has memory to me. I mean, you'd have to have somebody that's that
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That makes sense.
and it probably would have to be somebody that's a crazy artist like we are to make it
Exactly.
happen.
Yeah.
Because I think of this little altar place I have in my house, and it's because both my brothers have passed on and my father's passed on, and both my grandmothers I was very close to, and so I've got these little sorted pieces, and I'd be like, I'd love to have
Just one.
one. Maybe I could stick it in the sand.
Oh, that was something he did for the wedding.
My wedding, there was layers of sand representing all the different people, both
Okay.
alive and dead, that were involved with us. So anyways, what's next for Bruce?
There's always ideas coming. I have so many ideas and not enough time. There's always new projects coming along, new things to do, new places to go and find. One of the big questions that I get all the time is, where do I find my stuff? And I'm always looking. I'm always looking for things. Savers is a great store that I go to and rummage through their toy
we love it
section.
too.
During the summers, we frequent the flea markets and see what's going on there. The side of the road, I can kind of pick out when a trash can has something that's of value to me.
Well, I think you would go crazy when they have one of those like once a year big trash days where you can put anything out and they'll take it.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, you should come visit me at my condo complex, because we have this big dumpster where people are allowed to throw big things, and it's surrounded by like broken out monitors and all sorts of different stuff. And I could literally see you going and having a heyday, and it's just sitting at the dumpster for at some
Until
point to
such
go.
time.
But all sorts of stuff appears there all the time, and some of it's like, you know, like I said, like it might be a broken computer monitor, but sometimes it's retro stuff or things like this, and people have moved out of their condo and they just don't want to take it with it. And some of it's perfectly usable, they just don't want to take it with it.
I love that though. There's more ideas,
Dumpster
always
diving.
more ideas than time,
Yes.
or so it seems.
Bruce, we want to thank you for coming. Speaking of time, time is up here at Dragons, Unicorns, and
Other
Creative
Others.
Creatures.
very
Bruce Wood can be found at the Western Avenue Studio in Lowell, Mass. And you can go visit him and his Creative Creatures there.
absolutely.
Bruce, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
You know, there's no such thing as useless junk, just an underactive imagination. Namaste.